The day I married him felt like a fairy tale. But 3 days later, when my photographer called with a trembling voice, I learned that fairy tales can hide monsters in plain sight. Welcome to the Last Lesson channel. If you're new here, please subscribe for more emotional, real-life stories that teach us what truly matters. Now, let me tell you mine. I was 21 years old when I thought I'd found forever. His name was Marcus, and when he smiled at me, the whole world seemed to blur at the edges. We met at a coffee shop near campus. One of those meet-cuties you see in movies where someone accidentally grabs the wrong latte and everything falls into place from there. He was charming, attentive, the kind of man who remembered the small things. He'd text me good morning before I even opened my eyes. He'd leave little notes in my textbooks. He made me feel seen in a way I'd never experienced before. My best friend, Vanessa, loved him almost as much as I did. "Girl, if you don't marry this man, I will," she'd joke, laughing that beautiful, carefree laugh of hers. Vanessa and I had been inseparable since high school. She was the sister I never had. The one who held my hair back when I was sick, who knew my coffee order by heart, who could finish my sentences before I even started them. When Marcus proposed to me on a beach at sunset 6 months into our relationship, Vanessa was the first person I called. She screamed so loud through the phone that Marcus heard her from 5 feet away. "I'm going to plan you the most beautiful wedding," she promised. "You deserve nothing less than perfect." And she did. God, she really did. For 3 months, Vanessa was at my side for everything. We spent weekends browsing bridal magazines, tasting cakes, comparing flower arrangements. She had this natural eye for beauty, for making things look elegant and effortless. When I couldn't decide between 2 venues, she drove me to both at sunrise and sunset so I could see them in different lights. When my mother and I argued about the guest list, Vanessa mediated with the patience of a saint. When I had a panic attack 2 weeks before the wedding because everything felt overwhelming, she held me and whispered, "You've got this, and I've got you." Marcus seemed just as invested. He'd come to tastings with us, offering opinions on napkin colors and centerpieces even though I knew he didn't care. He'd put his arm around me and kiss my temple, telling me I was going to be the most beautiful bride he'd ever seen. In those moments, I felt so lucky, so blessed, like I'd won some cosmic lottery that most people spend their whole lives searching for. "Babe, whatever you want," he'd always say. "This is your day. I'm just the lucky guy who gets to stand at the altar." The night before the wedding, Vanessa stayed over at my apartment. We drank champagne and painted our toenails and talked about the future the way girls do when they think they know how their stories will unfold. She told me she was so happy for me, that watching me find love gave her hope that she'd find it too someday. "You and Marcus are endgame," she said, raising her glass. "Here's to forever." I clinked my glass against hers, tears already forming in my eyes. "Here's to forever," I repeated. I didn't know then how hollow those words would become. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather. The kind of spring morning where the sun feels gentle and the air smells like possibility. My grandmother, who everyone called Grandma Alice, came early to help me get ready. She'd been quiet during most of the wedding planning, just watching with those wise, knowing eyes of hers. But that morning, as she helped me into my dress, she paused. "You sure about this, honey?" she asked softly. I laughed, nervous energy bubbling out of me. "Grandma, I'm about to walk down the aisle in 20 minutes. A little late for cold feet, don't you think?" She didn't smile. Instead, she cupped my face in her weathered hands and looked at me with an intensity that made my breath catch. "Love is a beautiful thing, child, but make sure the person you're giving your heart to deserves to hold it." At the time, I thought she was just being overprotective. Grandmothers worry, that's what they do. I kissed her cheek and promised her everything would be fine. The ceremony was held at a historic chapel with stained glass windows that painted rainbow light across the wooden pews. 200 guests filled the seats. Friends, family, colleagues, people I'd known my whole life and some I'd just met through Marcus. The photographer we'd hired, Mr. Chun, was everywhere with his camera. He was this quiet, professional man in his 50s who came highly recommended. He moved through the crowd like a ghost, capturing candid moments, intimate glances, the kind of shots that were supposed to tell the story of our love. Vanessa looked stunning as my maid of honor. She wore a sage green dress that complemented her skin tone perfectly, and she'd styled her hair in loose waves that cascaded down her back. When I walked down the aisle on my father's arm, I saw her standing at the altar, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. Marcus stood beside his best man. His eyes locked on me with what I thought was pure adoration. The vows were traditional. We promised to love each other in sickness and health, for richer or poorer, till death do us part. When Marcus slipped the ring on my finger, his hand was steady. Mine trembled like a leaf. "I now pronounce you husband and wife," the officiant declared. The kiss was soft, sweet, perfect. The congregation erupted in applause. Vanessa was crying openly now, and even Grandma Alice, sitting in the front row, had a handkerchief pressed to her eyes. The reception was held at a country club with manicured gardens and a ballroom that sparkled under crystal chandeliers. We did all the traditional things: the first dance, the cake cutting, the bouquet toss. Marcus spun me around the dance floor while our song played, whispering in my ear how much he loved me, how lucky he was. I felt like I was floating, like nothing could ever touch this happiness. Throughout the evening, Mr. Chun continued his work. I barely noticed him, honestly. He blended into the background, which I suppose is the mark of a good photographer. He captured the toasts, the laughter, the tender moments between relatives who hadn't seen each other in years. At one point, I remember seeing him near the garden entrance, his camera pointed toward the terrace where some guests had gone to cool off. Vanessa and Marcus both disappeared at various points during the reception. It didn't strike me as odd. Vanessa was coordinating with the caterers, and Marcus was making rounds, greeting guests, being the charming groom everyone expected. When they were gone at the same time, I figured they'd crossed paths somewhere, maybe discussing some last-minute detail I didn't need to worry about. I should have worried. By the time midnight rolled around, I was exhausted in the best possible way. My feet hurt from dancing, my face hurt from smiling, and my heart felt so full I thought it might burst. Marcus and I said goodbye to the last lingering guests, and Vanessa hugged me tight, promising to help with thank you cards in a few days. "You were a perfect bride," she whispered. "I'm so happy for you." We left that night for a hotel nearby, planning to fly out to our honeymoon destination the next afternoon. As I fell asleep in Marcus's arms, I remember thinking that this was the happiest day of my life. I had no idea that 3 days later, everything I believed would shatter like glass. When Mr. Chun called me 3 days after my wedding, his voice was shaking. "Mrs. Parker," he said, "I need to see you. There's something in the photos you need to know about." The honeymoon was supposed to be 2 weeks in Bali. We'd booked a villa overlooking the ocean, one of those places with an infinity pool that seems to spill into the horizon. Marcus had been excited about it for months, showing me pictures on his phone, talking about sunrise beach walks and couples massages. But 3 days after the wedding, everything changed with a single phone call. We were still at home, actually. Our flight wasn't until the next day, and we'd spent those first few days of marriage in a blissful haze, ordering takeout, binge-watching shows, making love in the middle of the afternoon like we had all the time in the world. I remember lying on the couch with my head on Marcus's lap when my phone rang. The caller ID said, "Mr. Chun Photography." "That's probably about the photo previews," I said, reaching for the phone with a smile. I'd been dying to see our wedding pictures, to relive every perfect moment through his lens. But when I answered, Mr. Chen's voice wasn't what I expected. "Mrs. Parker," he began, and I could hear something strained in his tone, something careful. "I apologize for calling so soon after your wedding. I know you're probably preparing for your honeymoon, but I need to speak with you, in person, today if possible." My smile faltered, Is everything okay? Is there a problem with the photos? There was a long pause. Too long. I'd rather not discuss this over the phone. Could you come to my studio? Alone, if possible. That word, alone, sent a chill down my spine. I don't understand, I said, sitting up straight. Marcus looked at me, his eyebrows raised in question. Did something happen? Are the files corrupted or... The files are fine, Mr. Chun interrupted gently. Perfect, actually. That's the problem. Please, Mrs. Parker. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important. I agreed to meet him in 2 hours. When I hung up, Marcus asked what that was about. He wants to show me something in the photos, I said, trying to keep my voice light even though my stomach was churning. Probably just wants approval on the editing or something. Marcus shrugged. Want me to come with you? No, it's fine, I said quickly. Too quickly. I saw something flicker across his face. Surprise? Maybe? Or relief? You should pack for tomorrow. I'll be back in a couple hours. The drive to Mr. Chen's studio felt longer than it actually was. His office was in a renovated warehouse district downtown, all exposed brick and industrial windows. I'd been there once before for our engagement shoot, and it had felt warm and creative then. Now, as I climbed the stairs to the second floor, it felt ominous. Mr. Chun answered the door immediately, as if he'd been waiting by it. He was a small man, barely taller than me, with graying hair and kind eyes that looked troubled behind his wire-rimmed glasses. Thank you for coming, he said, ushering me inside. Please sit. His studio was exactly as I remembered. Walls covered with framed photographs, a large desk cluttered with equipment, and several computer monitors glowing in the dim light. He gestured to a chair in front of the main screen. Mrs. Parker, I want you to know that I debated calling you at all. He began, sitting down beside me. His hands were clasped tightly in his lap. I've been a wedding photographer for 23 years. I've seen a lot of things, but I've never had to do this before. My heart was pounding now. Mr. Chun, you're scaring me. He took a deep breath and turned to his computer. I always take hundreds of photos at every wedding. Most couples never see 90% of them. They're practice shots, lighting tests, candids that don't make the final cut. But I review every single image before I start editing. It's part of my process. His cursor hovered over a folder labeled Parker Wedding Raw Files. When I was going through your photos, I noticed something. First, I thought I was mistaken, that maybe it was just an unfortunate angle or a coincidental moment. But then I found another photo, and another, and by the time I was done reviewing everything, he paused, his jaw tight. I had 17 images that showed something I don't think you knew was happening at your own wedding. My mouth went dry. What are you talking about? Instead of answering, he opened the first photo. It was a beautiful shot of Marcus and me during our first dance. We were in the center of the frame, my dress flowing as he spun me. Our faces lit up with joy. But Mr. Chun zoomed in on the background, near the French doors that led to the garden terrace. There, partially obscured by a potted plant, were two people standing very close together. Too close. The woman's hand was on the man's chest. The man's hand was on her waist. And even though their faces were turned away from the camera, I recognized them instantly. The sage green dress, the familiar posture, Vanessa, and Marcus's best man, Jake. I thought maybe they were just talking, Mr. Chun said quietly. Friends can stand close. But then I found this one. He clicked the next image. This one was taken during the cocktail hour, in a hallway near the bathrooms. The angle suggested Mr. Chun had been photographing someone else and accidentally captured this in the corner of the frame. In this photo, Vanessa and Jake were kissing. Not a friendly peck. A real kiss, passionate and urgent. Her fingers tangled in his hair. Couldn't breathe. My brain was trying to process what I was seeing, but it felt like trying to read underwater. Blurry. Impossible. There's more, Mr. Chun said, and I heard the apology in his voice. He clicked through photo after photo. Vanessa and Jake holding hands behind a column during the ceremony. Vanessa and Jake slipping away together during my father's toast. Vanessa and Jake in the garden, her head on his shoulder, his arm around her waist in a way that spoke of familiarity and intimacy. But it was the last photo that made me physically ill. This one was time-stamped at 11:47 p.m., near the end of the reception. Most of the guests had left. I vaguely remembered this moment. I'd been saying goodbye to my aunt and uncle near the entrance. Mr. Chun must have wandered toward the garden to capture some final shots of the venue. In the photo, two people were on the terrace. At first glance, they were just silhouettes against the garden lights. But when Mr. Chun zoomed in, the details became clear. The woman was pressed against the stone railing. The man was kissing her neck, his hands on her hips. And this time, there was no mistaking who they were. Because the man wasn't Jake. The man was Marcus, my husband of less than 12 hours at that point. And Vanessa, my best friend, my maid of honor, the woman who'd helped plan every detail of this day, had her arms wrapped around his neck, her head tilted back in obvious pleasure. I made a sound. I don't know what kind of sound it was. Something between a gasp and a sob. My hand flew to my mouth, and I thought I might actually vomit right there in Mr. Chen's studio. "I'm so sorry," Mr. Chun whispered. "I'm so sorry." I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. I just stared at that image, my brain fragmenting into 1,000 sharp pieces. Every moment from the wedding was replaying in my mind now, but distorted, corrupted. Vanessa's tears during the ceremony. Were they guilt? Marcus disappearing during the reception. Had he been with her? That moment when I couldn't find either of them and assumed they were handling different tasks. Had they been together even then? How long had this been going on? How blind had I been? "There are more photos," Mr. Chan said carefully. Smaller moments throughout the day. Looks they exchanged. At times they stood closer than necessary. I've documented all of them. If you want to see everything, I can show you. But if you'd rather not, show me. I heard myself say. My voice sounded hollow, like it was coming from someone else's body. Show me everything. For the next hour, Mr. Chun walked me through a timeline of betrayal. He'd organized the photos chronologically, and together they told a story I'd been too happy, too trusting, too stupid to see on my own wedding day. The glance Vanessa and Marcus shared during the ceremony while I was exchanging vows with him. The way her hand lingered on his arm during the family photos. The moment they disappeared together during the cake cutting. I remembered searching for both of them, and when they returned separately minutes apart, they'd both blamed the bathroom line. By the time we reached the final image, that devastating photo on the terrace, I was numb. Shock had settled into my bones like ice. "What do you want to do with these?" Mr. Chun asked finally. "I haven't sent anything to Marcus yet. I usually deliver the full gallery to both the bride and groom, but under the circumstances." I stood up, my legs shaky. "Send them to me. All of them. Every single raw file from that day." He nodded. "Of course. And Mrs. Parker? I know this doesn't help right now, but you deserved better than this. You deserved a wedding day filled with real love, not lies." I thanked him, though I'm not sure why I was thanking him for destroying my entire world, and walked out of that studio in a daze. The drive home was a blur. My phone buzzed with a text from Marcus. "Where are you?" "Getting worried. Love you. Love you." Those words that used to make my heart flutter now made my stomach turn. When I pulled into our driveway, I sat in the car for 10 minutes, staring at our front door. Behind that door was my husband, probably on the couch where I'd left him, probably watching TV or scrolling his phone without a care in the world. Behind that door was the man who'd promised to love and cherish me till death do us part. Behind that door was the man who'd betrayed me with my best friend on the happiest day of my life. I took a deep breath, grabbed my phone, and opened the email from Mr. Chun. 17 photos loaded on my screen. 17 pieces of evidence. 17 reasons why my marriage was already over before the honeymoon even began. And then, with shaking hands, I opened my text messages and began to plan exactly how I was going to burn their world to the ground. I sat in my car staring at those photos until my vision blurred. Then I dried my tears, straightened my spine, and decided that if they wanted to play games, I'd teach them how to lose. I didn't go inside right away. Instead, I sat in my car with the engine off, my phone clutched in my hand, and I did something I hadn't done in years. I called Grandma Alice. She answered on the second ring. "Hello, sweetheart." Just hearing her voice made the tears come again. Hot and angry and desperate. "Grandma," I choked out. "I need you." There was no hesitation. "Where are you?" "Outside my house. I can't go in. I can't face him." "Grandma. My voice broke. He cheated on me. At our wedding. With Vanessa." The line went silent for a moment. Then Grandma Alice's voice came through, steady and calm as ancient stone. "Stay right there. Don't go inside. Don't call him. Don't do anything until I get there. Do you hear me, child?" "Yes," I whispered. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. You just breathe. Can you do that for me?" I nodded even though she couldn't see me. "Yes, that's my girl. I'm coming." Those 20 minutes felt like hours. I watched the sun beginning to set, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The kind of sunset that would have felt romantic just this morning. Now it just felt like the world was mocking me. Through the living room window, I could see Marcus moving around inside. At one point, he came to the window and looked out, probably wondering where I was. I ducked down in my seat like a coward, my heart hammering. When Grandma Alice's old sedan pulled up behind my car, I practically fell out of my door and into her arms. She held me tight, her weathered hands stroking my hair the way she used to when I was a little girl with scraped knees and hurt feelings. "Show me," she said simply. I handed her my phone with trembling fingers. She put on her reading glasses and scrolled through the photos Mr. Chun had sent. Her face remained completely neutral, but I could see her jaw tightening, see the way her eyes narrowed with each new image. When she reached the final photo, Marcus and Vanessa on the terrace, she closed her eyes and took a long, deep breath. "That son of a..." She stopped herself, opened her eyes, and handed me back my phone. "All right, here's what we're going to do. You're going to go inside and act like nothing happened." "What?" I stared at her. "Grandma, I can't." "Listen to me," she said firmly, gripping my shoulders. "Right now, they think they got away with it. They think you're clueless and stupid and so in love that you'd never see what was right in front of your face. If you go in there crying and screaming, they'll just lie. They'll gaslight you. They'll make you feel crazy. Is that what you want?" "No," I said, wiping my eyes. "But what am I supposed to do? Just pretend everything's fine?" A small, dangerous smile crossed Grandma Alice's face. "Not forever. Just long enough to plan properly. You're going to cancel that honeymoon. Tell him you're sick, food poisoning, stomach flu, whatever. Buy yourself a few days to think clearly. And then, when you're ready, we're going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of man he is and what kind of friend she was." "How?" "Trust me, child. I've lived 82 years on this earth. I know a thing or two about justice." With Grandma Alice's hand in mine, I walked into my own house. Marcus jumped up from the couch when he saw me, relief flooding his face. "There you are." I was getting worried. "How'd it go with the photographer?" I forced a smile. Felt like my face might crack from the effort. "Fine. Just some technical stuff about the editing process. Nothing important." "Cool. Hey, are you okay? You look pale." "Actually," I said, pressing a hand to my stomach, "I'm not feeling great. My stomach's been weird all afternoon. I think maybe something from the wedding didn't agree with me." Concern flickered across his face. The same face that had been kissing my best friend 3 days ago. Do you need anything? Medicine? Ginger ale? I might just need to rest, I said. Marcus, I'm worried about the flight tomorrow. If I'm getting sick, maybe we should postpone it? I don't want to spend our honeymoon in a bathroom. He looked disappointed but nodded. Yeah, of course. Your health comes first. I'll call the resort and see if we can push it back a week or two. Thank you, I whispered, and part of me hated how genuine he sounded, how easy it was for him to lie. I excused myself to the bedroom, claiming I needed to sleep. Once the door was closed, I sat on the edge of our bed, our marriage bed that we'd christened just last night, and opened my laptop. Grandma Alice's words echoed in my head. When you're ready, we're going to make sure everyone knows. I started making a list. First, I needed evidence beyond just the photos. I opened Marcus's laptop. He'd never bothered to password protect it because he trusted me completely. The irony wasn't lost on me. I went through his messages, his emails, his social media DMs. It didn't take long to find what I was looking for. The text thread with Vanessa went back months. Months. Long before our wedding, long before our engagement even. My hands shook as I scrolled through message after message. Can't stop thinking about last night. When can I see you again? She's at work. Come over. I hate lying to her, but I can't give you up. After the wedding, we need to be more careful. Just a few more months and then we can figure this out. I screenshot everything. Every single conversation. Then I went through Vanessa's Instagram. Her account was public, of course, because she loved attention. I found every photo she'd posted of the three of us together. Every comment she'd left on my posts about how perfect Marcus and I were together. Every lie wrapped in a pretty filter. The next morning, I told Marcus I was still feeling sick, but wanted to get some fresh air. I drove to Vanessa's apartment. She opened the door in yoga pants and a tank top, her hair in a messy bun, looking perfectly innocent. Hey, babe, she said, pulling me into a hug. I forced myself not to recoil. How's married life? Where's the hubby? Home, I said, stepping inside. I actually wanted to talk to you about something. Girl talk. Her eyes lit up. Ooh, is this about the wedding night? I want details. I wanted to vomit. Instead, I smiled. Actually, I need advice. Mr. Chun sent over some of the photos, and there's this one shot I love, but Marcus thinks it's too revealing. I wanted a woman's opinion. Let me see. She grabbed my phone eagerly. I pulled up one of the more innocent photos, Vanessa and Jake standing close during the cocktail hour. Her face went white. That's nothing, she stammered. We were just talking. I know, I said calmly. That's what I told Marcus. But then there's this one. I swiped to another photo, and another, and another. With each image, I watched her face cycle through denial, panic, and finally, desperate calculation. It's not what it looks like, she started. But her voice was shaking. Really? I pulled up the photo of her and Marcus on the terrace. Because it looks like you were screwing my husband at my wedding. She started crying. Big, dramatic tears that probably worked on other people. I'm so sorry. It just happened. We didn't mean for it to. How long? What? How long? My voice was ice. 6 months, she whispered. It started 6 months ago. At your engagement party. The engagement party she'd thrown for us. The one where she'd toasted to our love and our future. I felt something inside me harden into steel. Get out, I said quietly. What? Get your phone. Call Marcus. Tell him to come here. Now, don't tell him I'm here. Just tell him you need to see him. It's urgent. I don't. Do it. My voice came out as a roar that surprised both of us. You owe me this. You owe me the truth. Call him. Now. With shaking hands, she called. I listened as she told Marcus she needed to talk to him about something important. That it couldn't wait. He said he'd be there in 15 minutes. Those 15 minutes were the longest of my life. Vanessa tried to talk to me, to explain, to justify. I ignored her. I sat on her couch and I waited. When Marcus knocked, Vanessa looked at me with panic in her eyes. I nodded toward the door. She opened it. "Hey, what's going on? You sounded—" Marcus stopped mid-sentence when he saw me sitting on the couch. "Babe, what are you doing here? I thought you were resting." "Sit down, Marcus," I said. Something in my tone made him obey. He sat in the chair across from me, his eyes darting between Vanessa and me, confusion and fear starting to dawn on his face. I pulled out my phone and placed it on the coffee table between us. On the screen was the photo of them on the terrace, frozen in their betrayal. "I want you both to look at this," I said, my voice eerily calm. "And then I want you to look at me. And then I want you to explain to me how two people who claim to love me could do this on what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life." The silence was deafening. Marcus's face went gray. Vanessa started crying again. And me? I felt nothing. Just cold, calculated fury. "I have 17 photos," I continued. "I have months of text messages. I have evidence of every lie, every secret meeting, every moment you thought you were being clever. And now you're going to sit here and tell me the truth. All of it. Because if you don't, I'm going to send every single photo to every single person who was at that wedding. Your parents, Marcus. Your boss, Vanessa. Every friend. Every family member. Everyone who watched you smile in my face while you stabbed me in the back." "Please," Marcus started, but I held up my hand. "You don't get to talk yet. First, you listen. My grandmother was right about you. She knew something was wrong. I was just too in love, too trusting, too stupid to see it. But I see it now, and you're going to answer for it." Outside, the sun was setting again. Another day ending. But this time, I wasn't the naive girl who'd driven away from Mr. Chen's studio in shock. I was something different now. Something harder. Something they'd created. If this story is resonating with you, please don't forget to subscribe to the Last Lesson channel. Hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Share this video with someone who needs to hear that betrayal doesn't define us. How we rise from it does. Your support helps me continue sharing these stories. Thank you for being here. See you.